Image, save image. Okay, so now we have to apply it so that when we render it, if you notice when I just rendered it, it's not there. This is just a preview, really. So, like I said, if you want to get a good preview with all of the shadows and everything, you're going to want to change the shading under the display options in the properties toolbar when you press N. And you want to change it to GLSL. That's what it uses in the final render, I think. And it's also what it uses in the game engine. That I'm more sure of. And so, yeah. So, we don't need this window anymore. We can collapse it. And the way you do that is you click in the corner, and when we were making a new panel, we dragged our mouse to the left. And we don't want to do that. We want to close it, so this time you drag it to the right. And now a little arrow pops up, and it basically means, like, if you're pointing it this way, it means are you bringing the panel, you're going to drag the panel from the left and bring it over the panel on the right. But we don't want that, we want it the other way around, so we're just going to pull the arrow so it's facing to the right, and then whoop, it fills up the screen. If you had done it the opposite way, you could always just come down here to the bottom left and clicked this and gone to 3D view. Okay, so it's textured, meaning you can see the, well, you can't see the texture actually, so we have our material here, which I believe, you know, now that I'm looking at this, I don't know how much of these we went over. I think we went over most of them. Like I said, it was a long time ago. I should watch that video again. But if we go to the Textures tab, which is to the right of the Materials tab, you will see 3 buttons at the top. Material textures, world, I think that's what it's called. Wait. Yeah, world textures and brush textures. So we already went over brush texture. Didn't work out so well, but you know, you saw what it was. World ones is kind of like the sky and the background or the horizon, whatever you want to call it. There's a couple different methods of those, I think, or a couple different types of those. Most of they come from images, and then material textures are from that are going to be applied to materials of your object, and that's what we want. So we're going to add a new one of those, and we can rename it to FD texture for flash drive texture. Now, before, you know, we played around with noise. It's the same menu as before, more or less, on distorted noise. But this one we want to be an image. And a thought just occurred to me. You could put a black and white image onto a texture by making the texture an image when we were doing that texture painting. You could do that. That is possible. I think it would have to be black and white though, because or it would have to be the color of your brush. It would have to be a solid color, I think, or just one made of one color shade. Anyways, so we want it to be FD text. Anyways, so it's an image or a movie, and if you go down to image, new is kind of like starting fresh, but we already have one, and open would be if you edit it externally, or if it's going to be an image. So if it's going to be, if it's a, you know, if you have just a rectangle and you want it to be a brick wall and you have a picture of bricks, then you can just open up an image there like that. But if you click this little image icon here next to new and you choose the one that we made, as you can see up here in the preview, if you go to both material and texture preview, you can see it is the right picture, but it's not appearing on the object correctly because under mapping the coordinates is generated. That means it's just picking a spot and it's just laying it and it's just wrapping it around it. But we want to use, if you go to the drop down, we do UV because we used a UV layout. That's what we want to use, and as you can see, that gets us exactly what we wanted. It looks great. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to look at these, show some of these other things here. So, some of these actually would probably require entire other tutorials because textures are a big way to add detail to objects you don't need. They're very important in games, and they're also very important in just regular video and images. But anyways, let's look at these material settings again very quickly to see if any of these apply. Oh no, but we need our other material. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to hide the camera. Oh, I'm going to go to solid view, and I'm going to go get rid of this layer, or not get rid of it, but get off of the layer with the camera and lights on it, because we don't need that. And we are going to stay in the materials tab and go into edit mode. You're going to select the inside here, the inside of the flash drive here, as well as, and I did that with Alt right click and Shift, and I'll do that again right here. Alt click to select a loop, and then hold Shift to select. Sorry, it's getting kind of late. Shift to select multiple loops. So just hold down Shift while selecting all of those, and I'm going to click this plus sign to add a new material. Press the new button. Rename this to metal. Okay, now when you're in edit mode, or when you're in object mode, you can see there's no options right here, but when you're in edit mode, you see these three options appear: assign, select, and deselect. If we have metal selected right here, and we click assign with all these vertices selected, it's going to make those vertices have the metal material, or I should say the faces rather. These faces have the metal material, and the body and everything that's not in the flash drive material. So if we select flash drive material with the texture on it, and we click select, it's going to select all the vertices that have it on. So as you can see, it's not selecting the ones that we just assigned to metal, and that's what we want. So we can deselect those. Alright, so now the diffuse for the I like to say that funny, the diffuse for the metal one, we're just going to make white because you're not really going to see it, and that's just to sort of show and contrast what it looks like. And then we're going to go down to mirror, because the big one here is the reflectivity, and we're going to turn this up to 0.3. And if you look here in the preview, you can see that's pretty reflective. I think I actually want more though. 0.5 looks good. And some of these other settings in mirror, if we turn up the depth, that's kind of, I'm pretty sure that's the distance that it will, maximum allowed number of light into reflections. Oh no, that's kind of the quality. I guess that doesn't really matter. I'm not really seeing a change in the preview, but the Fresnel is another interesting one. So if you turn up the Fresnel, I think that's how you say it. If you turn it up, you can kind of see that in the center of the preview sphere, there is no longer any reflection. And I like to think of it like this. When you're blowing up bubbles as kids, you can see straight through the middle of the bubble. But on the rim of the bubble, from your point of view, the rim of the circle, you know, the bubble's a sphere, but from your two-dimensional point of view, it's a circle. From the rim, you can see the rainbow-colored soapy swirls, but on the middle, you can see straight through it. And this Fresnel property works exactly like that for transparency. As you can see, it's right here, but we're not using transparency. And it works the same way for mirror. It's reflected along the rim, but not in the center. So we're going to put that to 2. And then let's render this. Right, I have to go into object mode and select the layer with the lights and camera on it. Then render it. Okay, so wait, let's turn this reflectiveness up some more, because I didn't see much of reflection. I'm still not seeing much of reflection, and I'm going to believe that that's because there's not much to be reflected. If we add mesh, if we press Shift S and do cursor to center, cursor to center, there we go, and then Shift A to add mesh plane, and we grab it up and then, or scale it up with the S key, and then press G and Z to grab it along the Z axis and pull it down so the flash drive is resting on it. And we render it, we can get the a nice little effect here of having a floor for our scene. And then I'm also going to rotate the flash drive, R and Z, and render it out again. Maybe I'll rotate it back a little bit to more the way it was, so you can still see inside a little bit. Okay, so this is the final product, more or less. And yes, this is reflective. I'm going to add some more things in the next part of our tutorial, where we will show where we will add a texture to the floor, so that the reflectiveness will be a little bit more reflective, and I go over the basic render settings for a final image. Alright, so thank you very much for watching. This is Eddie, and subscribe, like the videos, show some support please, I really appreciate it, and stay tuned for the next part and final part of the flash drive tutorial. Bye bye.